From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
Welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast. This is your weekly podcast about going through the motions. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all of our upcoming episodes, as well as the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. I feel like I just said that in a really weird way this week, but well, that's fine. Moving on. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster Podcast, and his name is Sean. Sean, how are you doing today?
John, I'm innocent and perfectly sane. Also, it's a good thing I remembered to floss with your wife's pubic hair.
I mean, I'm going to just stop myself right there. Anyway, Sean, what have you been watching the past couple, however long that your list goes? Yeah, it's only been, 2 days since we talked last, so I don't know if you had time to add anything to your repertoire for this, but have you had any fun stuff to watch?
John, I've had lots of fun stuff to watch, but I'm going to give you, because I like the interaction. I like to make you feel like you're a part of this discussion. So I'm going to let you pick. Do you want to go from oldest to newest, or newest to oldest, or just random, like in the middle and then some other thing? I'm making this very complicated.
I want to go middle, old, new.
Okay, middle, oldest, newest, right?
Yep.
So
junior high, elementary school,
high school. Okay, got it. So because I'm this kind of guy, I got a chance to watch 3 different documentaries. So always watching fun stuff like documentaries. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is a documentary. It's called Popatopalis. And it is, do you know of this documentary? It's from 2009.
I think I've seen the poster for it somewhere. But anyway.
Yeah, basically it is a documentary about the director, Jim Wynorski, who made some of our favorite films like Chopping Mall, Deathstalker 2, Dinosaur Island, and a lot of almost softcore porn. Cinema. And eventually I think he turned to doing softcore porn. And it's basically like a retrospective of his career. And at the same time, it's documenting him making a movie in 3 days, like from start to finish. They already had the script, so he didn't write the script included in that. But so they have lots of interviews with different people. They have interviews with people that are in the current movie that he's making. The one that he's making in this movie that he did in 3 days is The Witches of Brestwick. So they've got some of those stars. They've got Julie Strain, who wasn't in the movie, but she's interviewed. She has several things to say. Julie K. Smith, Andy Sedaris says a few things. Roger Corman's in it. Lloyd Kaufman and Tom Savini are in it for just like seconds. Like they just get a couple sound bites. And Stormy Daniels is in Witches of Brestwick. So she's in this a little bit, the interviewer. They basically talk about, like I said, how he is to work with, how difficult he can be to work with. They interview his mom for a little bit, and they just kind of talk about his career in general. And the consensus is basically like Roger Corman says something to the effect of like, he's really talented, but he fell into this hole of doing these really super low budget movies, like from B movies to C movies, or even like Z grade movies, where he could
stuff we like.
Well, some of the stuff they talk about in the movie itself, but Julie K. Smith says it, I think, best is like B movies at this point, 2009, B movies don't exist anymore. They're like, you have the top A movies, the big blockbuster movies. And this is 2009, so that's even like 15, 16 years ago. Then you have C movies that are like filmed on
Tubi.
Worse than some of it. So they look like they're filmed, and especially 2009. You got to think of the technology that they're using, the kinds of cameras, the cheap cameras that they're using. So it was interesting, and it was a cool behind the scenes, but it kind of makes you feel bad for Jim Wynorski and they go through his many aliases, like Jay Andrews and what is it like? Jay Blueberry or something. He's got like, they show all these aliases. He's got like 15 or 16 different aliases. He's made a ton of movies. I mean, when it takes you 3 days, it probably, not too hard to fill up your catalog. But that was that. I would recommend watching it if you're into B movies, if you're into Jim Wynorski, if you want to see how these behind the scenes, the BTS filming of low budget movies. I also watched another documentary. So we're going to go to the oldest documentary that I watched. It's from 2003. And it is called, I think you'll really enjoy this title, It is called Sandwiches That You Will Like. And it is...
This is on my watch list, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want to watch it.
Yeah, the same. When I saw when I saw the title, I was like, I want to watch this. So I saw this. This will be in the show notes because it's available on YouTube. But when I saw the title, I was like, this is a movie I want to watch. It is a documentary / travelogue. It was produced by PBS in Pittsburgh, and they basically just go around the country and they talk about different kinds of sandwiches. They talk about the people who make them, the people that eat them, how they're a reflection of like the local culture. So they go to Philly and they go to Geno's and they go to Pat's. They go to a place in Maine where they do these big lobster rolls. They go to, I want to say Pittsburgh, I think there's a restaurant that's famous for like their chipped ham sandwiches. That's like super thin slice. They go to Iowa for a high grade, which is like a loose meat hamburger style sandwich. They go to, I don't know, they talk about banh mi, and I think they're in Boston for banh mi. They go to St. Louis where you can get the St. Paul sandwich, and it's basically like an egg foo young patty that you get from these like storefront Chinese kind of restaurants that at the time, right? This is 2003. These sandwiches, these St. Paul sandwiches were like $1.50. And it's just the egg foo young patty with, some kind of meat in it between two slices of bread. That's what it is.
Did they go to, you mentioned Pittsburgh. Did they go to Permane Brothers?
They did not. They did go to New Orleans.
That's good.
And they talked about the po' boy, your favorite.
Well, I do enjoy a good po' boy. I will say, as far as like regional places, the only place that has disappointed me more than Permane Brothers, like the original Pittsburgh location, was Skyline Chili. Was worse than Permane Brothers.
That's sandwich.
It's not a sandwich. I'm just saying like regional food or like regional thing that like people know of. But anyway,
yeah. So
Permane Brothers sucks. So sorry, Pittsburgh.
I think I've been there once or twice. It was okay. It wasn't great. Yeah, but that was a good kind of just light, easy thing to watch. I think it was about an hour and a half or so. Again, it'll be in the show notes. And then last but not least, the most recent thing that I watched was a documentary called Kim's Video, and it's from 2023. It is basically a documentary about this store that used to be in downtown Manhattan called Kim's Video, and they had over 55,000 VHS tapes and videos. I think they did have DVDs included, but a lot of the base of the collection were VHS tapes. And the guy was an immigrant from Korea, and he came here and he had like a dry cleaning business and he had a video store like attached to it. And over time, he was like this big film buff, but a lot of the movies that were in his collection in the video store were basically like, some of them were bootlegs, lots of hard to find stuff, lots of rare, like out of print stuff, just things that were taped off of other sources. So they weren't all like legit, on the up and up release, but they had 55,000 of them. It became this kind of staple in New York for film lovers. And the guy was a big film lover. And when the VHS, the video business, started to out earn the dry cleaning business, he closed the dry cleaning business. And I want to say they opened like multiple locations of this place, and they had they interviewed people that some of them were somewhat famous, like people you may have heard of, like David Wayne was in there. They interviewed him. I don't know if he was a member or an employee. They had both. They had people that were members and employees. They go to try and find the location of where it was. Obviously it's closed down. That starts out the movie. But at some point, Mr. Kim decided that he was just ready to get out of the business, and he wanted to give his collection to someone that was like worthy of taking it. So there are all these, I think he put out in the newspaper he was giving away the collection, but there are all these stipulations, and I don't have them written down or anything, but there are all these criteria that whoever was going to take over the collection had to meet. And it eventually got awarded to this town in Italy called Salemi. And what they were going to do is they were going to take all
not salami?
Salemi with an E. They were going to take I know. Well, it would just fit with the sandwich thing I just talked about. They were going to take all the videos
like salami.
in a shipping container, take them to Salemi, and they were going to digitize all these movies and make them available to anybody who was a member of Kim's Video. So the filmmaker kind of talks about how he was like really influenced by movies, how movies like talked to him, and he was always interested in making movies. So when he got to Manhattan, he went to the store and it was like a heaven for him. So he decided he was going to try and, like, nothing had happened with the collection. It kind of just disappeared and nobody had heard about it. So he goes to Italy and he wants to try and figure out what happened to the collection and why it's not available. And he has like his membership and he finds the place that it's at. And he's like he's like, I'm a member. You said anybody that was a member could watch these movies. And it was just like the idea and the whole premise and the actual archival stuff and the not behind the scenes, but like the setup for the actual, like what the documentary was about, which is this guy going to Italy to try and find the collection, was really interesting, like a really good topic to find. But the way it's told is really kind of all over the place. And it's really ho-hum, like the actual telling of this story, like him actually doing the legwork to go do this stuff. Like he goes to Italy, right? He's a single guy, so like a one-man band type of filmer. He doesn't have like a crew or anything. And his style is just like, I'm going to carry this camera around. I'm going to shove it in people's faces. He doesn't know any Italian. He doesn't even use like Google Translate to be able to figure out what they're saying or how to communicate with people. And he just expects that they're going to answer all of his questions. And I don't know, it just comes across as cringy, like the way that he does this stuff. It's interesting. Like if I were to give it like out of 10 points, I'd probably give it like, I give the idea a 10, but I would give the actual execution like a 5. So maybe it would get like a 6.5, a 7. So I don't know. It was an interesting documentary. I think it would be cool to watch to see all the different movies, because he references all these different movies while he's talking about like the collection and everything. So that's kind of cool. But other than that, I wouldn't really say it's all that worth watching unless you're like really into seeing all the behind the scenes on what happened to this collection. It's fairly interesting. Long story short, I won't spoil. Well, yeah, I'll just leave it open because it's only been out for 2 years and a lot of people may not have heard of it, but I'll try and leave it in the show notes somewhere. It might be kind of hard to find for free, but you know, I'll do my best. How about you, John? What'd you watch?
You want me to go the same format? Middle?
Yeah, why not?
Middle, old,
why the
new?
hell not?
So, okay.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
There we go. So my sophomore movie then, I did a rewatch of Jawbreaker, which came out in 99. It's got Rose McGowan, Julie Benz, Pam Grier for like 5 minutes, something like that, and Rebecca Garrett in it. Actually pretty good dark comedy movie. Like I don't know if you know the premise, but it's basically the popular girls go to play a prank on their friend for her birthday. They pretend to kidnap her, as you did in the 90s, because kids in the 90s had far less, I don't know, value and safety, I guess. They kidnap her and shove this jawbreaker in her mouth, like in the opening scene. It gets lodged in her throat and she dies. And then the rest of the movie is them basically kind of balancing between covering up this, I guess, murder. I guess it's not murder if it's not, but whatever. This killing, and trying to stay the popular girls in school at the same time, and like win prom queen and shit like that. And it's funny, like those movies that you've never watched all the way through, but like you kind of know all the beats in them, like you've seen bits and pieces of them. So one of those movies for me is Mean Girls, and because I've never watched it, like I've never sat down and watched it, but I'm pretty sure over the years I've seen enough bits and pieces of it. I don't think I've missed much. And watching Jawbreaker this time, because this came out 5 years before Mean Girls, it's like I really feel like whoever made Mean Girls, I don't know who directed that or greenlit it or whatever, but whoever made it, I'm like, I feel like they really ripped this movie off quite a bit and just took the murder out and replaced it with like petty teenagerism, because Jawbreaker it goes in such dark places. And Rose McGowan's a fucking powerhouse in this movie. She's like such a, like, I don't know, emotionless cunt, which kind of fits for like what her character is supposed to be. And I like Rose McGowan, so that probably helps quite a bit too. I know it's just a cool movie. It's a very like stylized movie. You're very, very aware of the fact that you're watching a like late 90s movie. It's got all the like, the musical tropes and like the style tropes and everything. It's kind of like watching the first Scream. You're like, yeah, this is very 1990s, how everything looks and how everyone acts. So it hits all that. I mean, it's not like it's not like something that I would go back to often. I had seen it before, but it's probably been a good like 15 years or so at least since I've seen it last. But it was a good one to revisit and holds up pretty well for what it is. Like a compressed movie that kind of lives somewhere between Heathers and Mean Girls with arguably a better cast. So I like that one. If I were putting hot dogs on that'd probably be a full hot dog because it's just something different and like an easy in and out hour and a half, like quick watch without, too much overthinking. So I enjoyed that. Going back in time further, the movie Filmhouse Fever it came out in 1986, and this is shorter. It's still on Tubi, but it's only like an hour long. This almost feels like a precursor to somewhere between your found footage YouTube series that you kind of turned me on to and like Beavis and Butthead. Basically, Steve Buscemi and Mark Boone play these like burnouts that are just totally hooked on shitty movies. Sounds familiar. And kind of between some like yakety schmackety shit and like some little like goofy, throwaway scenes, they essentially just make their way to this like dive theater and just talk shit about these like Mystery Science Theater, these like shitty movie clips for about an hour. It's somewhere in like, it's mostly like comedy because of them, but they're mostly watching horror movies in it. Again, this feels oddly familiar, but I don't know. I like both Buscemi and Mark Boone, and they play surprisingly well together. Mark Boone does not look a goddamn thing like the Mark Boone that you know now, like the guy from Sons of Anarchy with the big beard and all that. And I think he's in the first Nolan Batman movie, just off the top of my head. He's like skinny and shaven in this, which is bizarre to me because whenever I think of him, he's got that like lion mane thing going on,
Yeah.
But it's for what it is, for again a quick hour in and out, like this is kind of silly. I took a couple notes, like I kind of want to go back and find this movie that they're watching and that type of shit. So I found it to be pretty entertaining. I think it was one that I told you to watch on your trip. Like that was my suggestion to your like make Sean watch stuff list that you took to Italy. Did you get around to doing that one or no?
No, it's on my list.
Okay. Then
much like your
my
kiss.
new movie. Oh, okay. Well, that's cute. I was like, wait, where's this going? As far as a new movie, the only thing I watched recently that's kind of new, it's this year's version of The Monkey, which I'm pretty sure is just like Monkey Shines, but not called that. It's adapted from a Stephen King book, I guess. And it's, cursed monkey kills people for about an hour and a half. I kind of want to go back and watch it again because there's enough weird stuff in it that like I feel like it would almost do better on a second watch. But I like there's a lot of like 50s throwback like soundtrack work in it, like a lot of songs and like weird. When I say dance numbers, I don't mean like they stop the movie and break into like a song, like a dance routine, but like the characters naturally go into like these playful dance scenes based off what's going on in the scene. And then the monkey does some really fucked up stuff. It has some of the most insane and creative deaths that I've seen in a movie recently, so that's a plus. But the characters that you're supposed to be following, the two human characters that are like controlling this monkey entity and kind of playing with the curse or what the monkey does, or trying to stop it, depending on which one you're looking at, they're very like unlikable. They are like just like there's one that's a good guy and one that's a bad guy, kind of, for lack of better wording. The good guy just sucks. Like, he's not interesting. He's not relatable. And you're kind of like, God, just hurry up and fucking kill him, please. And then the one that's the bad guy, like, he disappears for a huge chunk of the movie. But when he comes back, you're like, oh, you never stop being annoying from when you were annoying at the first half of the movie. So, the characters in it are not good, to put it briefly, but the movie itself has enough like insanity in it that it's at least worth giving a watch. I've kind of said like we could cover this one a couple times and we just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah.
Whether or not we do, I'm kind of indifferent on, but it's worth giving it a try. And this is only the second Osgood Perkins movie that I've watched. So I think so, getting to know his film catalog a little bit more is a good thing, I suppose.
Other than
Quigley. That's right. He wasn't Quigley. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So third. So
well, he didn't direct it.
This is
can't blame him for the movie.
So in the echelon of Longlegs, the Monkey, and Quigley, this is a distant second to Quigley and kind of like neck and neck with Longlegs, but a very, very different film altogether. Like Longlegs is so dramatic and this is kind of not in a lot of ways. Like it's got a little bit of that like Stephen King moodiness to it, but it's definitely not. Longlegs made you think about it a lot more. This is pretty like straightforward and to the point, but the reason why you would want to go back to it is for the insanity that happens in it, which there's a pretty good amount of that. I don't know. Again, if we're doing hot dogs right now, that's probably about half a hot dog, just putting it to be, you know, right in the middle there. But I could see it going up or down depending on how it ages after giving it a break and going back to it.
Seems fair. You're firm but fair, John.
I try to be. That's what I go for. I definitely try to be as firm as possible. And that seems like a good time to take a break and firm back up. And we're going to hear something, and then we're going to talk about the movie Ricochet when we come back. So we're going to take a break.
Hey folks, AI John here. If horror is the name of the game, Will and JT from the Deadbeats podcast have just what you're looking for. Each week, they dive into horror in its many forms, be it movies, books, TV shows, or even urban legends. Whether you're a die-hard horror buff or just enjoy a good laugh with your frights, this podcast promises both spooky insights and genuine camaraderie. You can find the Deadbeats podcast and many other fine shows at yourunpodcast.com.
All right, so we are back, and as mentioned, we're going to be talking about the movie Ricochet, which came out in 1991. We start with a third-party review as per usual, and this one is from Anonymous, but Anonymous says this is one of those early 90s revenge thrillers that looks ridiculous by today's standards. The swords and phone book duel between John Lithgow and Jesse Ventura in a prison cafeteria, yeah, you heard that right, must have been the result of a fever dream. 2 out of 5 stars. I really only included this because I really like that he brought up the sword and phone book fight in the prison. So, and I didn't want to forget to talk about that.
Oh, it's in the notes, John. It's in the notes.
It's in mine too, but sometimes we get talking and we get sidetracked. And, you know, when you have John Lithgow having a sword fight with Jesse Ventura in a prison, you have to bring it up at some point. It's just mandatory.
Yes,
so
I would agree.
So, aside from prison sword fights, Sean, what is Ricochet about?
All right, so for that, we go over to imdb.com and we type in the word Ricochet. That's spelled with one C and then another C. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone but me, but that pulls up a movie from 1991. It gets an R rating and it clocks in at 1 hour and 42 minutes. It gets a 6.2 out of 10 with 22,000 ratings. And this movie, for some reason, we're on a roll with popularity here. This is ranking on IMDb at 3,026, which I'm guessing is an improvement from 4,595. I always thought it meant it moved that many spaces, but we don't even know what that number is out of. Is it the top 5,000, top 10,000?
Did it go up 1,500 from?
Yes,
roughly
it got more popular. That's the way I'm reading it.
I have no idea why, but okay.
Yeah, I don't know why this is back in the zeitgeist, but we will read the thing on top. Not sure if it's a storyline or the plot, but they wouldn't put it up on top if they didn't want it to be read first. It says, Hitman seeks revenge on a police officer turned district attorney. And if we scroll on down to the other thing, which would make that the first one, the plot, and the second one's a storyline, this one comes care of Stephen Currents. You can find him at Billy C at Errol's.com. He says, in this action thriller, Denzel Washington plays Nick Stiles, the assistant district attorney of L.A. The film opens in his early days as a cop on the LAPD. During a carnival, master criminal Earl Talbot Blake creates a scene after a botched drug deal. Stiles and Blake confront each other, during which Blake is wounded by Stiles and later sent to prison. 7 years later, Blake escapes from prison during a parole board hearing to carry out his revenge against Stiles. and what follows is a violent series of events that destroys Styles' career. This sets the stage for one last bloody duel between Styles and Blake.
And before we get too far into this, do you want to take a second to highlight some of the wonderful actors or actresses that might or might not be in this movie?
Yeah, let's highlight the ones that are in it. That'll make it a little bit easier. So we'll first mention Denzel Washington, plays Nick Styles. You may know him from Training Day, Book of Eli, Malcolm X, the Equalizer series, tons of other stuff. We've got John Lithgow, who plays Earl Talbot Blake. He is from Third Rock from the Sun, Dexter, Harry and the Hendersons, Cliffhanger, and many, many other movies. We have Kevin Pollak, not to be confused with The Fish. He plays Larry Doyle. He is best known for The Usual Suspects. We talked about him in End of Days. He was in A Few Good Men and She's All That. And then we have Ice-T, who plays Odessa. You may know him from Surviving the Game, Law & Order, New Jack City, the Car Shield commercials, which for some reason is on his IMDb. And then we have Lindsay Wagner, who plays Priscilla Brimley. She is best known from The Bionic Woman. And then we have a very, very, very small part from John Amos. He plays Reverend Styles. He is Nick Styles' father. You might know him from Good Times, Beastmaster, Coming to America, and Die Hard 2. Two things I also wanted to mention. Fred Decker has a writing credit on this. So Fred Decker wrote Monster Squad. He's written a bunch of other things. What's that? Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps.
Yep. Wrote and direct that. And then the
favorite of the show.
Yes. So. And then the director of this movie is Russell Mulcahy. Russell Mulcahy. He also directed Highlander, Highlander 2, Resident Evil Extinction, and a ton of Elton John and Duran Duran music videos.
Man, that Highlander and Highlander 2 reference is so apparent when you see this prison fight scene.
Yeah. I could see that fight scene specifically, sure.
So I'll give Cliff Notes in a second here, but I want to ask a question because I'm noticing this. The first thing you read was that Hitman seeks revenge on a police officer turned district attorney. Okay. Yeah. So my Cliff Notes on this movie is pretty simple. John Lithgow is a bad guy. Denzel Washington arrests him. And then the rest of the movie is John Lithgow trying to get revenge on Denzel.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question. We'll get into the usual stuff here. I know in here, they're telling you that he's a hitman. Do they at any point in this movie tell you anything other than that he's the bad guy? Because I remember the whole time I was watching this, I was like, I understand that John Lithgow is unquestionably the bad guy of this movie. But I was like, what is he a bad guy? Is he like a drug lord or like a gangster or something? Like I guess he kind of becomes one of the Aryans at some point in this movie. But I was like, I mean, again, there's no question at any point that he's a criminal. But I was like, what is he just a criminal out doing crime for the sake of crime?
Yeah, I would not have pegged him as a hitman. I feel like he's more of maybe a drug lord or more like a serial killer or something, like a psychopath. Maybe a psychopath. He's a certified psychopath.
He's almost like a Joker character to an extent, in the sense that he's an agent of chaos. But like,
oh, for sure.
I don't remember, and it's very possible there's like a throwaway line where someone's like, oh, we're going to go kill this bitch. And
I'm a hitman.
Yeah, whatever.
Blam, blam, blam.
Yeah. I was wondering if I was the only one who, because I don't think I've seen this before, but I was wondering if I was the only one who was like, okay, I get that he's bad, but what's his deal? Like, what is he other than fucking nuts?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, maybe like a crime lord or something, or like you said, he's like an agent of chaos.
Yeah. But like, there's never, even when he gets to where this movie goes, and we'll get to that in more detail probably. It's not like, we've already said he goes to jail. It's not like he gets out of jail and immediately like rounds up a posse or anything like that. I guess he kind of does, but like, it's not like you're seeing, I don't know, Al Capone get out of prison. And it's like, well, of course he has like, he has the mob right there because he's Al Capone,
a gang of guys,
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
He has like one guy. Okay. John Lithgow has like one guy that helps him out. Yeah. And he's like a shithead to him the entire time. This movie, just before we get into everything, watching this movie, it came out 91. There are so many movies that feel like they stole things or they like were highly inspired by this movie. And I don't have a lot of them written down because a lot of it is just kind of vibes. But the thing that I wanted to mention is that John Lithgow's character, Blake,
Yeah.
seems like he's the villain. Like they modeled the villain on Last Action Hero after him because he has like a cloudy eye, and he's kind of like the guy, the bad guy from Last Action Hero, one of the Lannisters. I can't remember which one he plays. Charles, whatever his name is. He's got the 8-ball eye and the smiley face eye and all that shit that's a parody on this type of thing. But Lithgow with the cloudy eye, and I want to say even something as silly as Kill Switch with the way that action is choreographed, and maybe Highlander came before this, but it's very chaotic. It got those quick cuts the Seagal movie would have, like something like Kill Switch, where they show it from 10 different angles of somebody falling out of a building. It feels like this is that kind of movie too.
It felt a lot like Die Hard to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think this is after it was Die Hard 88, 89, something like that. So this would be after it. Mm-hmm. So it felt like, I mean, we'll get into all the other stuff. I've already said that, so I'm repeating myself. It felt like they were basically trying to make, and I know this is one of Denzel's first, if not his first action movie, but it kind of felt like they were just taking Denzel and saying, how do we rip off Die Hard and make a crazy movie to some extent? I think it overachieves from that description. I think there's more to it than that, but if I were to guess, whoever they pitched this to originally, I think they just said, we want to make a Die Hard like movie with Denzel in it, and that he was just coming off of winning an Oscar in this too, didn't he? Like, wasn't Glory right before this?
Glory was 2 years before. Yeah, so relatively close. Yeah, he starred in a bunch of movies between like 89 and 93, and then he kind of took a little bit of a break for 94, but then he's back just full force again.
I imagine if you at that point, and Denzel's always been, at least for the most part, been pretty well received as an actor from my memory. I feel like if they were like, we got Denzel Washington, we just want to do like a Die Hard type over the top action movie, I could see that getting greenlit pretty quickly. Like that doesn't seem far fetched to me at all.
Yeah, it seems like a kind of bona fide moneymaker, basically. Like, how could this miss?
Yeah, for sure. Right. Well, I think we'll figure that out. But so, Sean, you're the one who brought this one up, and I'm actually glad you, not actually, that's not a surprise, but usually like the crap that you recommend, but I am glad that you brought this one up.
I like most of the junk.
Yeah. How did you come across Ricochet? I know I've seen part of this before, but I don't think I've seen this whole movie before, but how did you fall into Ricochet?
I think I hadn't seen it until probably before we started this podcast. Like, I don't think that I'd seen it until then. That was the first time. And I think I heard somebody on another podcast, like in passing, mention the jailbreak or the parole board break scene. And I was like, oh, that sounds crazy. And I think I heard the line about flossing your teeth with, your wife's pubic hair kind of thing. And which is at the very beginning of the movie or near the very beginning of the movie. And I just died laughing. I was like, I have to watch this. I mean, that just sounds like an amazing movie. So I watched it, and kind of the premise of like, I want to go back and talk about some of these old like 90s kind of hidden gems a little bit. Like, who thinks of a movie? Sure. Who thinks of this movie? Who's in the audience is like, man, Ricochet, finally somebody's talking about Ricochet. It just doesn't feel like there's that big of an audience for it or that has actually seen it. So yeah, it was just kind of like, this is a really entertaining movie. I feel like this is something we should talk about because I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, for me, so there's a scene near the beginning of this where Denzel has like a standoff with John Lithgow, and he basically strips down to his underwear, and it's almost cringe in some ways. Like, it's kind of dumb, but I think if I were watching it in 1991, I'd probably think like, oh, this is so badass. I'm looking at it with the wrong glasses when I say it's kind of cringy, but I know I've seen that scene before. The rest of the movie, I mean, maybe this was a Cinemax movie apparently, so maybe I caught it at some point on cable and just kind of left it on, but I really don't remember anything other than that scene. And I know this is like a super rare movie to find a physical copy of, so I don't have any I can't go back to the VHS, like the video store well for this one or anything along those lines. For all intents and purpose with this is a first watch for me because like I said, I don't have any memory past that. And that's a good way to kind of get into like the positives on this. So for me, I'm going to start us because I like how fucking batshit crazy this movie is. Like, this movie does a really good job of, there's a lot of over the top stuff, and there's a lot of stuff that you can look at this and be like, I don't think this would happen this way in real life. Like, there's just a lot of
specific example, John. I don't know.
Let's start with Denzel in the scene that I was referring to, pointing a gun at a hostage. I don't think that would fly, and then him being rewarded for it like immediately.
Yeah,
like,
as soon as it happens, like, you're promoted.
Thing. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Undercover.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a lot of stuff like that. There's a lot of like leaps in logic in it, but you learn pretty quick in this movie that this movie is one of those movies that's like it's not like science fiction-y except for the prison sword fight scene. It's not like anything like that. Like it's like grounded in action movie reality, if that makes any sense. Like, it's over the top and ridiculous, but there's nothing in it that's like supernatural or like,
yeah, nobody has any powers or anything.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. So there's nothing where like someone gets shot 500 times and comes back like to save the day or whatever. Like, nothing crazy like that. So I like that part with it. I like how over the top it is. And every time with the exception of Cliffhanger, every time that I see John Lithgow play a bad guy, I really fucking enjoy John Lithgow playing a bad guy. Like, he is really good at being unhinged and like psychotic, to the point where when I see him not being a bad guy, I kind of get annoyed with him. Like, I can't take him seriously as a good guy, because whether it's him in Dexter or him in this, or I'm sure I'm forgetting some other good ones, him being a bad guy is just he just nails it.
And
like,
you can tell he's having fun with it.
For sure. How about you? Where are some of the things you like about this one?
Well, I think my number one thing you already mentioned is John Lithgow. From the very beginning of this movie, he practically like grabs the camera and puts his face in it and says, I'm the person you want to be watching whenever I'm on the screen. Like, he practically announces it. And that first scene between, and I'm not even talking like necessarily the standoff at the carnival where Denzel strips down, but that first scene, even because they're upstairs, they're like in this warehouse, Lithgow and his sidekick,
goons,
cronies, well, a single, because it's just one guy. Like, they go into this place to basically steal the drugs from a drug dealer. Like, they double cross this drug deal, and they are going to take the drugs. And Denzel and Kevin Pollak hear gunshots, so they go up to the warehouse and they see him, and he just jumps out of the window. Right? He just like, oh, cool, whatever. Second story window. I'm just going to jump out of the window. John Lithgow does, and then there's the standoff. But just from that first, like a normal person would do. From that very beginning opening scene, you know that anytime he's on, he's just the person to watch. And like you mentioned it, but the gladiator, like the Aryan gladiator prison fight, where they're wrapped up with newspapers and books and telephone books like taped to their chests and their arms and shit, and they're just fighting back and forth. The entire time that Lithgow is in jail, he is obsessing and stewing and just like plotting revenge and fighting Aryans, even though he's an Aryan, about Denzel.
It's almost comical that at no point, because they say he's there for 8 years, and at no point does any corrections officer see this like mural of like the district attorney, assistant, who they make to be is he assistant, whatever. They make this hero cop, this guy who is like fucking RoboCop, but not Robo, of whatever city this takes place in. He's on TV all the time. No one thinks it's weird that the guy that arrests him is just like fucking obsessing over him for 8 years in prison. No one even questions it at all. I think that's kind of like, that's where I was saying like, it's kind of ridiculous, but all right.
Yeah, he has like pictures of this newspaper clippings and stuff, and there's a scene where he's in like the office, and they kind of do this thing where they're going to cover up his jailbreak or his parole board breakout. And he's just making copies on a copy machine, and it's Denzel's face, and each copy is like a bigger blown up picture of Denzel's face. And a cop just walks in and he's like, there's no qualms. He doesn't even say anything. Like, oh, you're printing off the guy that got you arrested. You're printing his face off bigger and bigger on these sheets. Oh, that's cool. That's a good use of resources. Keep at it. Like, let me know when you can see the atoms in this guy. Like, just
this seems healthy.
Yeah, keep blowing it up. I like that I've brought it up several times now. So there's a prison break scene, or Lithgow gets put up for parole. He goes in front of the parole board, and he's formed this band of Aryans in jail, and they all come up with this big scheme. Like there's a construction crew doing work, like using bandsaws and stuff, sawzalls and drills and jackhammers and all this shit in the prison because they're remodeling some office area, and the parole board hearing is right next to it. Lithgow incorporates, or he gets all these guys to help him out, and they break out of jail. And the scene where they're like taking out cops and just the construction dudes, they're like using bandsaws across people's chests, and a guy gets drilled with like a big electric drill in his neck.
It's pretty bloody.
Yeah, it's just an over the top scene, and the way they make their escape is just hilarious. Like they take a bookmobile and they smash it through the gates, and the entire time the gate from the prison yard is like stuck to the front of this bookmobile as it's like going through all the desert and shit, and it eventually falls off. And it's just it's a fabulous scene. And I'll let you, if you have any more likes, I'll let you chime in here. But the other thing that I have is like the gaslighting in this movie. This could be a like or a dislike. In some movies it would be a dislike, but this movie's so ridiculous that I have to mark it down as a like. The gaslighting in this movie is next level. Lithgow sets up this ridiculous machine of setting up Denzel Washington, and everyone thinks because of this prison break and he switches dental records with another prisoner, they all think that Lithgow is dead. So he abducts Denzel, he does these things to him, he shoots him with a 8-ball and he gets him high, and then he like has a prostitute with him and all this stuff, and films it and makes it seem like Denzel is a willing participant in this whole thing. And they show the video. The video gets sent to a news station, and the news station shows the video of him having sex with a prostitute, and they just put like black ovals around the butt crack and the side boob, and it's like, they would never do that. There is no way.
Yeah.
And the last thing, I know I said,
I wish they would. I would love to
great.
Watch hardcore porn on the news.
Yeah, with just like some fuzzy black circles on it. The other thing, right. I cannot think of another movie off the top of my head, and not to say that it's not something that's out there. I can't think of another movie that in multiple scenes, there are like Penthouse or Hustler clippings on the walls and stuff, and they actually show a woman like doggy style with her snatch exposed on the screen. I can't think of another movie where I've seen like an R-rated movie, at least like a Hollywood movie. Let's put it that way. A studio Hollywood movie.
You lost me. You lost me.
Of a woman.
I was going to say I could think of a few, but then you said Hollywood movie. I'm like, all right, never mind.
A major studio picture. Okay, where like a lady, her snatch is just spread like on screen for multiple seconds, two times in the movie. And yeah,
gotta go back for more.
Yeah, so I guess so. They should have shown it 3 times.
I want to piggyback on what you were saying about him in the jailbreak and him faking his death. I really like how they play that out, because it plays out how he fakes his death over, I don't know, probably like 5 minutes of movie time. But you mentioned like he switches his dental records with this guy, and then he's part of the breakout, and you almost forget about him switching the dental records, and then they get to wherever they're going, and the first thing he does is, because when he goes in jail, he got shot in the knee by Denzel. That's how he gets essentially taken down to begin with. So as soon as he's out of jail and away from all this, first thing he does, and you realize like, oh, that's the guy who he switched dental records with, because he blows his face off. And it's the squibs in this movie are they're not level. As much as they're very like gunshots look, I don't want to say they look real, but they look very intense in this.
Yes.
And then immediately after that, he like blows his knee off. I was like, okay. I mean, thinking critically, I was like, it might be weird to just think that the person that broke out of this prison is dead and coincidentally has a gunshot in the same spot that he got shot before. That, I mean, maybe, but it seems like there's other ways you could identify him. But either way, it's played well enough that you're like, all right, it's
conceivable.
Although Psycho, they're making this guy, it's conceivable. It's the 90s, so it's not like now where they probably do like a blood test or something like that to at least make, I don't know. I have no idea how they identify prisoner bodies in this situation, but it's conceivable, and it kind of plays them off as like clever enough to be like, diabolical, maybe. Like,
oh yeah,
it's well done.
Diabolical
for this kind of movie,
is
so.
a very apt description. I feel like they're really setting up Lithgow to just be like this, like you just like an agent of chaos, like you mentioned earlier. He is like the Joker. I mean, he's like borderline genius of all the shit that he, like the way he's going to cover his tracks. Obviously, this is a movie; it's not realistic. Would he get away with this? Probably not. Like 99% of what he's doing, would he get away with? No, probably not. But it's still, it makes for a really entertaining movie.
Well, and it does a really good job of, again, this is an action movie from the 90s. The second you realize that Denzel is the bad guy, you pretty much know. Well, I just said that wrong. The second you realize that Lithgow is the bad guy, you pretty much know that Denzel is going to come out on top. Like, no matter what happens in this movie, Denzel is going to be the victor at the end. However, it does a pretty good job of putting Denzel in these shitty situations and like just compounding shit on top of shit on top of shit that you really get to a point like, I don't know, how are you going to get out of this?
Yeah.
Like, and even with like how the movie ends, you still kind of walk away like, I still feel like there'd be a lot of questions on what he's gone through over the last week of time in this movie, from when Lithgow gets out of prison to maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know how long it's supposed to be. It's not very long.
I feel like you kind of hit it on the head. The thing about this movie is that like, it's an hour and 42 minutes long. It's a little bit on the long side. There's a little bit of character development that takes a little too long, especially towards the end of the movie. But you kind of have to do that because they're showing you all the ways that Denzel is basically being tortured as this public figure and how they're really trying to go after him and fuck him over and fuck his career and just fuck his life over. Like, that's how dead set Lithgow is about it. But you get to a point where there's like 25 minutes left of this movie, and you're I don't know, for me, I was thinking to myself, even though I'd seen this before, it had been a little bit, a couple of years, I was like, how did they get him out of this situation? And I feel like that's what makes a really good, this is an action thriller, so that's what makes a really good thriller is, ultimately 99.9% of movies, the good guy's going to finish out on top, something's going to happen, the bad guy's going to get killed, or he's going to get put in jail so they can make a sequel. Something's going to happen.
It's like for every 1-7, we have like 50 ricochets that figure it out for the good guy.
Yeah, but this movie is so well crafted in the story department that you're sitting at 25 minutes, 30 minutes left of this movie, and you're just thinking to yourself, how are they going to get him out of this situation? Like, how is he going to solve this situation? And that's a big, huge reason I really enjoy this movie is because of that, because you're watching this whole thing, and so many other movies, the good guy is just the good guy, and he's just the smartest guy in the room, and he's going to get out of it. But in this movie, Lithgow is arguably
the bad guy is
smarter.
Just a bad guy, and he's somehow the smartest guy in the room, and the good guy still has to figure out how to get out of it.
Yeah.
So,
and the last that I'll really kind of give, and then we can move on, unless you have other things, is like, there is a scene, it's near the end of this movie, and I don't want to give a spoiler out, but there is a scene where Denzel has set up all this whole building to blow up, and he's like on the roof and he's ranting.
I think I know where you're going.
And as the building's about to blow up, he just perfectly jumps through this skylight, perfectly falls into this construction chute where you would throw debris and material if you're renovating a building or something, like Home Alone 2. He perfectly puts his arms up and he does a swish through the middle of the chute and comes out and just shoots out like he's on the giant slide on Belle Isle or some shit. And he just like flies out of the building and he's totally unharmed. And even the way the scene is filmed, you're just watching it. And I watched that. I was cackling. I just had my head cocked back and I was just letting it rip. I had the wind. I'm sure my neighbors were like, what the fuck is wrong is that guy on crack? I was so just euphoric laughing at this stupid fucking scene from this movie. Classic scene, classic stunt.
The only other thing I'll say that I really liked, and I don't want to go into too much detail with it because it will basically ruin the movie if you haven't seen this, and I'm assuming a lot of people haven't. I like Ice-T's character, and I like how he's used and when he's used in the movie. The only thing I could say that I might want a little bit more of him in there somehow, but I like what he brings to it, and he gives a different edge to this movie that definitely separates it from, like I said, this movie gives me a lot of like Die Hard vibes to it. Ice-T's character takes it way away from that. And that's definitely a good thing in the end. As far as switching gears and getting into dislikes, I don't have a lot, but I will say one thing I did not care for because so preface this, I don't feel like this movie's too long. And I know it's over my usual hour and a half thing, but the one scene that I was like, are we really doing this? I thought was kind of fucking stupid is the arm wrestling scene. I just felt like I was laughing at it because it's fucking dumb, but I was like, with everything we've seen before this movie and everything that happens after that scene, it just feels so out of place for what this movie is.
Yeah.
So
the thing too that bothered me about that scene is like the way that they arm wrestle. Like when I've seen people arm wrestle, they lock thumbs and then they grab around each other. These, they grab like across their palms, and that's how they're
prison arm wrestling show.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. How does Denzel know? He's only been a cop. He's never been to jail. He's pretty good at it.
Isn't he drugged up at that point? I don't remember.
That's pre-drugged up because when he wins,
it's a pre-drug.
He
that's right.
Pins
that's
his arm and then he jabs him with the whatever heroin or the 8-ball or whatever it is that he gives him.
The shit.
Yeah,
so,
the shit. That shit.
That's really my only like big dislike. Again, I could nitpick about how I don't really feel like they develop Lithgow's character other than being fucking, again, Agent of Chaos that we've already said. I can nitpick that, but like, although I did find myself asking that, I don't feel like it takes you out of the movie. Like there's enough insanity going on with Lithgow that you just kind of move on with it fairly quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. How about you? Do you got anything that you want to shit on with this one?
I mean, I think for me, it's kind of nitpicky, like specific scenes and just weird things that happen. Like there's a scene, the way that Lithgow, he kind of infiltrates Denzel's house. And the way that he does it is he cuts the power. And then he immediately shows up. His kids, Denzel has 2 kids, and Denzel and his wife are out. And Lithgow cuts the power, and he immediately shows up, and the babysitter answers the door. And he's got a hard hat on. He's got like the vest and everything. And I don't know why this happens, but in the scene that follows, he's in the house. They have like a cake with birthday candles on it, and the little kids are like, "Is that our birthday?" And they're like, blow out a birthday cake, and like, this guy's here to fix your power. Why are you giving him a birthday cake? And, you know, the babysitter's like, they're flirting with each other, but she's like clearly 20s and Lithgow's like in his 40s. It's just kind of he is a creepy dude.
He looks
anyways.
like John Lithgow.
Yeah. So. And it's just a weird scene. I think the other thing is when there's a scene, like an extended scene where essentially Denzel's been kidnapped and they have on the news playing in the background of scenes or whatever. There's like the local news is covering a story that the assistant district attorney, which is who Denzel is, missed a court date. And it's just a passing scene in the movie, but when have you watched your local news and you've number one, know who your district attorney is, right, let alone the assistant, and when their court dates are. Like, it's LA. There's nothing else going on that anybody would care about other than the assistant district attorney missing a singular court date. It's just kind of weird. The other thing, like I said, the pacing, not really the pacing, but when Denzel returns from being kidnapped, there's a bit of a lull to me in the movie. And it does make sense in the scheme of the story, right? He's coping with being kidnapped, being drugged, being scandalized, all these things that happen in the movie. But it does set up for his house was bugged when Lithgow was there as the electricity worker dude, the utility guy. But it's just it just feels like it hits a lull in that point. And the last thing is an extreme nitpick, but there are so many scenes in this movie where there are close-ups of John Lithgow's face, and the camera is pointed directly up his nostrils. And you get to see there's little, Klingons and dingleberries and shit hanging in his nose hairs. I don't need to see that. You didn't have to show me that. You could have pulled out a little bit. I didn't have to see a little dust bunny hanging from his short hairs in there. Just nitpick stuff, but
that's fair. So.
Yeah, weird stuff.
Well, unless you disagree, I think it's time to fire up a grill.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
You want to take the lead?
Yeah, I guess I'll go first. So for me, this is part over-the-top action movie, part thriller. I really feel like they don't make them like this anymore, or it's very few and far between. The movie goes some places. I can't say it always makes logical sense, but it's really fun as hell. It's an hour and 40 some odd minutes. You get to see two, like, for the time, and now especially, two really big stars playing cat and mouse with each other. And like I said, my likes, you really can't take your eyes off Lithgow when he's on the screen. There's always some ridiculous line or some scene that's happening or that's about to happen. Like, you just feel his presence when he's there. You're just waiting for some crazy thing to happen. And Denzel really balances out that part of it, and he balances out the movie because he's so much more even keel, which doesn't take a lot when you have somebody like John Lithgow who's just over the top, like playing it to the hilt, and Denzel just has to act like a normal person. And he would be, he could just tone it down a little bit, and he just is this total foil to Lithgow's character. Even with Lithgow stealing all these scenes, Denzel puts out, like, for this kind of silly, kind of over the top movie, his performance is actually really good too. And I don't think we mentioned that at all, but he does a hell of a job in this movie for this kind of movie, especially. So I think this is a really hidden gem for both of these actors, because on the outside, it sounds like it could totally be like incredibly bad, but it really just, all the pieces just work together. I give Ricochet a hot dog all day. If we were using a different scale, I would give it, like, if I could give it more hot dogs, if I could give it 2 hot dogs, I'd give it 2 hot dogs. I really, really enjoy this movie. It's just over the top enough. It's not a movie that I would watch for like a serious thriller or like a scary kind of thriller movie, but it really just scratches that over the top action movie thriller revenge story so well. It's like Kill Switch, but good. And Kill Switch is good for its own reasons, but it's like, if you like Kill Switch, if you heard our episode on Kill Switch and you thought that sounded like a lot of fun, I think this movie's just as much fun, just a little bit more serious.
Why are you talking so bad about
I
Kill
don't know,
Switch?
baby.
I love Kill
Hot
Switch,
times, baby.
It's so
Whose hot
good.
dog is this, huh? Is it yours?
Speak of the devil. You kind of took exactly what I was thinking in the sense that they don't make action movies like this anymore. If they were to try to make something like this, it'd have to be like set up for them to make 6 more. This is a, movie that's right at home with your late 80s, early 90s action movies in all the best ways. It has some of those shortcomings of those movies as well, but not enough to turn it away or anything like that. You're right. Denzel is really good in this movie, and I'm not the biggest Denzel fan. Like, I can probably rattle off the Denzel movies I like on one hand without too much effort. And Lithgow, like I said, this is not my favorite role that I've seen him in, but it's up there. It's like easily top 3 for me. So it's violent as fuck, which is great. If you're just looking for like a old school like action movie, which I think I've said on here, and I know I've said to Sean a bunch of times, I've just been like gorging on shitty 80s and 90s action cop movies. Like, it's really since Bulletproof. Was it Bulletproof? Ever since fucking Gary Busey started butthorning on us.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I've been on this like action movie skid ever since then. And this fits right in with that. So it's a full hot dog all day. It's not perfect. It's definitely got some things that you can nitpick if you wanted to, but unless you just flat out don't like a good action flick, I don't see how you could come away with this without at least having some fun for the majority of this film. So yeah, it's a full hot dog. I'm right there with you.
I was a little concerned that after I suggested this and I was like, I wonder if John's going to like this. Especially when I hit that, like I said, for me, it was a lull, and you were like, I didn't see any problem with it. And I was like, he's going to say something about the runtime, but we didn't hit too much over.
No, I mean, like I said, there's a couple scenes where there's the arm wrestling scene, which I feel like is a weird, long enough, like this probably could have been trimmed out. There's certainly things that you could trim down in this if you wanted to, but I don't know that would make a better movie in this case. Arm wrestling aside, you mentioned where Denzel's spiraling with all the shit that's happening, and I don't think he's at his best in this movie in those scenes. I think that's kind of his weak point of this movie, which is weird because he's a dramatic actor, so you would think that would be where he'd be stronger in this. I think he gets a little too hammy at points with that, but not enough to take you out of the movie, and not enough to, it almost kind of resets you and be like, wait a minute, I'm watching a 90s action movie. Like, just, this is fine. So yeah, I don't have any problem with it. So yeah, Ricochet, check the show notes. There'll be a link somewhere where you can probably watch this. hopefully for free. I don't know. So I don't know with this one, but that seems like a good time for us to switch gears and talk about our question of the week. This week, our question of the week is in the spirit of action movies, and it is quite simply, what 2 stars would you want to see face off in a movie, not as buddies, but as full-on rivals? Could be dramatic, could be petty, whatever you want to do, your call. We're going to start over on, on Instagram, and our friends over at Dissect That Film leads off with a banger, and they're telling us straight up, Steven Seagal versus Steven Seagal.
Skinny versus fat, or just any flavor?
My heart says fat versus fat, but like sure. He doesn't specify. He just says Seagal versus Seagal, which I love. Next up, we have Halloween Town, and Halloween Town says Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford. If he didn't want to do it, and he wouldn't, then Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know which one wouldn't want to do it, but I like the idea of Mark Hamill or Harrison Ford fighting Jennifer Lawrence. Either one of them.
Oh, I thought that they would tag
reasons.
out, like Mark Hamill or Han Solo would tag out for Jennifer Lawrence. And then it would be Mark Hamill.
Either way, that's kind of funny. I just like the idea of however you want to do it. I don't care. I want to see Harrison Ford fight someone. So be surly about it.
Land a plane on somebody.
That's right. Smash Trivia John says Nick Cage versus Jim Carrey could be hilarious. Okay. And then the Horror Cat Dad says JCVD versus Seagal. I'd say JCVD takes it just in a full-on drag-out brutal fight.
Here.
What year? I mean, I think we'd be rooting for JCVD, but I think Steven Seagal would fight dirty. So
would JCVD. Haven't you ever seen Bloodsport? Doesn't he throw the sand in his face? Oh, no, he gets the sand thrown in his face. I'm sorry.
I've never seen Bloodsport. We did a whole episode on it, but I never watched it. So
yeah, that was a crazy one. Go back and listen to it.
I was thinking about that JCVD movie where he's in prison running away from like the entire prison, but I can't think of the name of that movie.
Is that Death Warrant?
Not that one. That sounds right.
Just break it out.
Over on Blue Sky, our friend Boomer over at Woods Podcast 1 says, hear me out. It's on an action thing, but I think this would be brilliant. Mads Mikkelsen as the intelligent, sadistic serial killer facing off against the driven, jaded detective played by Idris Elba. Have you seen it before? Sure. But these two would give a gritty crime thriller subgenre new life. Idris Elba can do whatever he wants, and I'll probably watch it. I like Idris Elba as an actor, and I feel like he's criminally underrated or underrepresented. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I'd agree.
Thoughts?
And Mads Mikkelsen's great too. I'm sure it wouldn't be bad.
Good job, Boomer. You're the winner. Then over on Threads, let's see. Possibly the best handle of the week. Ridiculous says, Ridiculous. That's a great name. Ralph Fiennes, Fiennes. Ray Fiennes. Okay. Ray Fiennes and Stephen Lang, both veterans of theater who can chew up the scene like Godzilla without even raising their voices. Both have gone through insane physical regime for their work. I can see a growing American Civil War era man versus nature kind of epic. Okay.
I like that there was a diversion from action.
I like the name Ridiculous. So
yeah, go Ray.
Simple. Last and certainly not least, our good friend Justin over at Pop Culture Reflections Podcast says Paul Hogan versus Rowan Atkinson. I want to see Crocodile Dundee and Mr. Bean beat the shit out of each other.
I'm down. Where do we get this done?
I mean, if we could have in like early 90s, like Ricochet, like action sequences, sure. Why not?
Well, I think Paul Hogan might be
John,
dead.
how about you? Yeah, that sounds right. Rowan Atkinson's not dead, but his career probably pretty much is. So
yeah, he's rich.
How about you, Sean? Do you have any stars, celebrities, whatever characters that you would like to see fight each other?
Paul Hogan is not dead. I'm sorry, Paul, for putting you in an early grave. I want to reflect. A couple people said Steven Seagal. I want to add Steven Seagal, but I want to mix Steven Seagal with Bruce Willis. And they have both done so many shitty movies across their career. They may have actually met up at some point, but I don't know if they have.
Can we do Bruce Willis when he's like not Bruce Willis?
Yeah. Riddled with dementia or whatever he has.
Yeah.
Yes, this is perfectly mentally stable Bruce Willis. Not to say he's not mentally stable.
I don't know that he was ever mentally stable, but
true.
Anyway, I would say if I had to pick one, I'm going to say Danny Trejo versus who do I want to see Danny Trejo fight? Jack Black. Just because I don't like Jack Black, and I'd like to see Danny Trejo like machete him.
Okay. All right.
This
Danny
is really
Trejo's
just me
your
playing an
go-to,
actor I
so-
like.
What's that?
Yeah, and I just want to see an actor I like beat up an actor I don't like. That's really it. Simple, to the point.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Got anything you want to tack in here?
No.
No? Well, in that case, we're going to wrap up this week again. If you would like to follow us on any social media, you can do that. We are at Dewey Pod Monster pretty much everywhere except for, Blue Sky, where we are at crap.town. That's also where we post the question of the week. If you would like to participate, that would be awesome. You can find our show on any podcast platform. While you're there, please do leave us a like, a review, whatever that platform asks for. Please, if you could do it, it helps us out. Even if it's a negative review, tell us how we suck. That's okay. Or you can go to yourunpodcast.com. All of our episodes are on there, as well as all the other great shows on the You Run Podcast Network. Please do go there and check out more than one show. It'd be greatly appreciated. And then last and certainly not least, if you want to go to our site, you can go to crap.town. That is a real site. And you can even leave us feedback there as well. If you want to send us a direct message saying, hey, I really want you to, watch Cliffhanger. Please
Project
don't do
Metal
that,
Beast.
but you can, even better. Shit. Anyway, you can go to crap.town. You can leave us feedback there as well, or submit requests. That's where all our shows live in infamy, purgatory, all that good stuff. Please check it out. Sean, what am I forgetting?
I was only going to add that if you want your question of the week answer read on this here show, you have to answer the question of the week. And the best way to find the question of the week is go to places on social media that John cares about. If you also like anything that you heard that we talked about on this show, we're going to do our damnedest to put them in the show notes and try and find it someplace that you can watch it for free. Because, like what other show do you know that you could listen to that provides hours, other than just the shitty stuff that we talk about, provides hours of entertainment, mostly for free? I would say like 90% of it is free. If it's not free, it's probably going to be on Amazon. If you see Amazon in the show notes after the name of a book or a TV show or a movie, those are probably going to be paid TV shows, books, or movies. If you click on those, you buy the show or you buy something else that you found on Amazon via our link, we get a small portion of that sale, and that really helps our show. You can also help the show, as John mentioned, by leaving a review on the podcast platform of your choice, or even just word of mouth. If you have a friend that likes crappy movies or likes masterpieces like the things that we talk about on this show, tell them about the show. Key them in, get them involved. If you want to follow me on social media, I can be found on Blue Sky exclusively. You can find me at internalbleeding.crap.town on the Blue Sky. John.
So that's it. That's all we got. Swill up, Butthorns. Have yourself a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
John, I'm innocent.
You're Emmett Smith?
I'm Emmett Smith.
You're innocent.
Let me do it again. All right, come on.